and northern Mason County. This is radar observed. And this is, again, a new warning. We've been watching some of these severe thunderstorm warnings, primarily in Fulton and Tazewell and Mason counties. But this new warning here goes for, again, Fulton, Mason, and Tazewell counties. This is valid until 12:45 in the morning. Severe thunderstorm located near Havana. It's moving east at 50 miles an hour. Tornado possible, as well as ping pong ball-sized hail. It's about maybe 1.5 inch size hail. And we're looking at Manitou around 12:05, Green Valley around 12:10. Those are just a couple locations in the path of the storm. So this tornado warning is part of kind of a larger severe thunderstorm warning where we have primarily south into Mason County, some strong winds, some hail, but we do see, again, within the line, kind of the northern part of this is a little bit more intense than the others. So there's a couple different polygons going on here. So it's kind of have to bear with me and try and look through them. But you see the red polygon, that is your tornado warning. That is Havana, that's Liverpool, that's Topeka, that's Manitou, maybe South Peak and Tremont Delavan. The larger severe thunderstorm warning, it's actually a couple of cells, but that extends from areas maybe just southwest of Peoria back into southwestern Fulton County. But we'll look in at the velocity here. That's really picked up. We looked at velocities. We were streaming on Facebook on our live stream and our streaming service not too long ago. And we're looking at velocities, and there wasn't too much anything that was impressive there. But that's certainly an uptick. So what you're looking at is right here. That is just north of Route 136. And the red-green couplet, in particular some of the bright greens, and they meet the red, that is the area of rotation that's quickly moving away from Havana. In fact, we got a new scan coming in. So we'll zoom on in and we'll look at kind of where we're seeing this. So this is north of Route 136. Again, Topeka is near or north of this. This is radar indicated, but if there is a tornado, that's where it's going to be, around or just north of the Topeka area, maybe along East Manitou Road. We're also looking at County Road 2280 East in that vicinity, just southwest of Forest City. So if, again, there's a tornado, that's where it is. This, for the time being, is radar indicated, but a fairly healthy radar signature. Again, that's a very strong signature. We'll show the shear detector again with this, and you see the shear product. It's a kind of a multi-scaled or multi-leveled product. The dark blue is the low end, and we start seeing pinks and whites. That's the high end. And the shear is still technically on the low end of the scale, but anytime that I see that bright blue showing up, kind of that Carolina skyish blue, that is an indication that there definitely is some rotation, and I think a tornado could be possible. Again, nothing confirmed just yet. I do believe that there are going to be some spotters in the area, but no reports for them just yet. And we're looking at the storm again moving through northern Mason County toward Tazewell County. So let's put a track on this as this is moving off to the northeast. Again, I believe it was about 40 or 45. So let me I'll put the query back up, and we'll get the warning time and some of the speeds with this. So it's moving at 50, actually, moving east at 50. So it's a quick mover, and I've noticed that that line of storms there near Route 136 kind of has been a quick mover. The initial warning there in Fulton and Mason County were some speeds of pushing maybe highway speeds, about 50 to 60, locally even stronger. So this is our... Oops, let's stay on camera there. We're on the map. Okay, so current time is just after midnight. It's 12:02. And some of those towns, 4 cities we've talked about, that's 12:05. Let me scoot this a little bit in so you can see it in the box there. There we go. 12:05 in Forest City, Manitou 12:09, Green Valley about 12:15 to 12:20, Delavan about 12:23, Hopedale just after 12:30, Mackinac will be about 12:39, And Danvers, if this can hold together and make it toward the I-74 corridor, at a minimum, the storm should. We'll see if the rotation does. But Danvers, again, about 12:49. Carlock, closer to the top of the hour here. It's officially after midnight. And then you're looking at areas in Bloomington Normal, a little closer to 1 o'clock in the morning. Again, time will tell the exact track and how well this holds together. But that's the idea of where this is heading. A pretty good hail core with this as well. So we're going to look at the hail product here, and you see that purple that's showing up. That's north of Topeka, northwest of Forest City, and west of Manitou. We'll get the hail detector, and again, we just saw a new radar scan come in, so I would expect the hail product here to update momentarily. But any of that blue coloring is probably about hail the size of an inch. We did see some, at least in our hail product earlier, with that line of storms before it became tornadic. But north of Havana, we saw some hail estimated to be about the size of at least $50, if not even larger than that. So some pretty large hail at times, maybe not the 2 to 4 inch hail that we were seeing in Livingston County and closer to Interstate 80, but certainly some large hail with this storm as well. Again, the tornado threat, probably the primary concern, but there is a large hail risk. The hail core itself is almost due north of Topeka and creeping toward the Tazewell-Mason County line. We'll check in again with the velocity image here, and there's still a pretty good signature. It's maybe a little broader than when we first hopped on the air. But we definitely are seeing some very strong winds with this, and you kind of get the idea of the colors here. Red is away from the radar site, green is toward. So you kind of get the idea here that we're looking at kind of your rotation somewhere in this area that is near Forest City. So Forest City to Manitou to Green Valley, as we've talked about, if you're not in your safe place, that's somewhere you're going to have to be heading with this tornado warning. The rotation, again, fairly right on top of you. And that's, again, moving toward Manitou, toward Green Valley, east through northeastern Mason County, eventually into maybe west central and southwestern Tazewell County. We'll zoom in again. We'll keep our velocity on. We'll zoom in and get some of the roads here. East Manitou Road. It's the rotation probably just crossed over, and this is maybe just west of Forest City, with County Road 2800 East as another landmark there. This is maybe just northwest of where that runs into Forest City and meets up with East Manitou Road. So those are, again, a couple landmarks for you of where any possible tornado could be. Again, this is still, at least for the time being, to be radar indicated. But this is what we're looking at here right now. A tornado warned storm for parts of Mason and Fulton counties, or no, scratch that, just Mason and Tazewell counties. The Fulton County portion of the storm has been allowed to expire early, but still northern Mason, southern and central Tazewell County. Assuming that we follow this track, this probably stays south of Pekin, stays south of Morton. Likely to stay south of Washington as well, unless this storm can start to push more toward the north and northeast. If we keep going kind of east or even east-northeast, it's probably going to stay south of Route 98. But that's worth keeping an eye on as we're starting to creep borderline towards some areas that are just a little more populated, kind of around the Peoria metro and some of the Peoria suburbs, at least the immediate suburbs around Peoria. This should stay just south of that. But again, we do just want to keep an eye on the trends here as we look ahead to where the storm continues to go. The warning itself, again, through 12:45 in the morning. There are a couple of additional severe thunderstorms. The primary risk is, I think, is south toward Mason County and toward Mason City. But there is a severe thunderstorm warning still north of the tornado warned area, and that does extend to give or take about the Peoria airport and maybe just southwest of Peoria. The city of Peoria itself not included in the warning, but it's right on the northern fringe of the warning. So we'll see how that kind of develops in time. Let's take a peek again. There's the velocity. Again, a pretty good signature still. We'll look at kind of a different velocity product, and you see just strong winds. Some of that does extend south of Route 136. So that is more of a straight line wind situation near Easton and heading to Mason City, heading to Route 29 and Route 10. That's in, again, Mason County, straight line wind threat there. This is what we call storm relative velocity. It enables us to pick out the rotation a lot better. And we see that near Forest City, again, near Manitou, and east toward Route 29. Still radar indicated. We'll take a peek at the reflectivity, and again, you can almost kind of see a kink in the line. Imagine if this were just a straight line, but it's not. You notice by Manitou, it kind of bends back in and then it bends back out. That's the rotation, and that was a very clear signature, in addition to the velocity signatures that we're seeing, that there's something going on there, that there's some rotation. And that's why the Weather Service decided to pull the trigger on that tornado warning, again, valid for another 35 minutes. We're going to continue to stay on air here. Of course, we're streaming on our live app, on the live stream, on our 25 News streaming service and smart TVs, as well as on our Facebook page. So lots of ways to stay informed. And even once this tornado warning is eventually either canceled or expired, we'll probably likely stay on as long, at least the streaming on our app and our live stream. And our Facebook page, as long as there's still some active severe thunderstorm warnings, and we'll stay on TV, at least for the time being, as long as there's this active tornado warning. So if you're just joining us, here's just a recap of where we're at in terms of any active advisories, watches, warnings. The tornado watch did get extended south of the area. Locally, it did not include Lincoln when it was initially issued, and included every other county within our viewing area. Now the I-80 corridor, that's been canceled. Livingston County's been canceled. The watch still in effect for basically Route 17 south, which is the areas that did not see any activity earlier today. And it was also extended south to Interstate 72. Now, the watch was also extended in time to 2 o'clock. It was originally 11 o'clock. They did extend it back a few hours there to 2 o'clock. And this is the reason why we just have the proper conditions to maybe see some active weather here, some strong and severe storms. Again, we're not really expecting widespread severe weather, but there still could be a few warnings, as we're seeing still a risk for a tornado. Again, it's a low chance from a widespread aerial perspective, but as we're seeing, it's a non-zero chance because, again, we do have that active tornado warning, as well as the additional severe thunderstorm warnings. So here again is where we're at. South of Peoria is the active weather. There's some non-severe activity, Lakin, north of Pontiac, so no issues there. Our focus is these three warnings, primarily the tornado warning. As again, we will zoom on in one more time, and we'll check back in on that velocity image, because again, it's a pretty, there are definitely some strong winds here. And anytime you see that bright green, especially combined with that bright red, that is rotation. It's from a broad kind of mid-level sense within the storm. What you're looking at is what we call the mesocyclone. And from there, these tighter rotations, maybe rotating wall clouds, eventually tornadoes, can come out of that. So radar, when you look at these velocity images, you are not actually seeing a tornado. Again, you're seeing the broad rotation within the storm. But when that gets strong enough, it can oftentimes produce a tornado, or at least sometimes produce a tornado. Again, no reports of scanner or of spotters just yet. So for the time being, this is still a radar indicated situation. But again, a very clear signature going on in terms of that velocity. The shear detector is maybe not as strong as what it was earlier, but we still see some shear detected, some rotation right around Forest City, again, maybe just east of Forest City. And that kink in the line is now near Manitou. I think just a new radar scan came in, so we'll check this out, and we'll zoom on in a little bit tighter to areas near Manitou. And County Road, let's call a couple of these out. County Road 2400 North, East Manitou Road. I see Hickory Grove Road and County Road 2550. Those are a couple where we're looking at in that general vicinity, which is just maybe near and east of Manitou. That is where your rotation would be. or is rather, it's where any possible tornado would be. Again, still some of the bright greens showing up, some strong winds. The warning itself is for only winds of 60. I wouldn't rule out maybe a localized gust stronger than that, but for the most part here, definitely strong winds, large hails we've looked at. And a clear rotation signature now pushing away from Forest City toward Manitou and toward Green Valley. So here's where we're at in terms of the areas that are clear and not clear. So Topeka, we'll zoom this out a little bit. Topeka back to Havana, I think you're fine. Forest City, it's pushing away from you. I wouldn't give you an all clear yet. Same with Manitou. Actually, Manitou, you're kind of getting right into the thick of this. So those areas I would advise to still stay in your safe place, and obviously anything that's going to be downstream as we head toward Tazewell County, South Pekin, Green Valley, even looking south there. Delavan would be kind of fringe, but I don't think it's a bad idea if you're in Delavan to head to your safe place. This might kind of scoot by just to your north, but I wouldn't rule out if it cuts more east, it could be closing in on Route 122, and that's where it'd be impacting you potentially. So South Pekin to Delavan, those areas, including Green Valley, Green to 29 corridor, I would be heading to your safe place. We'll watch again how this turns. Does it go northeast? Does it turn more easterly as it moves into Tazewell County? But at a minimum here, some very strong winds, definitely some rotation. It might be a little broader, and I'm hoping that if that line straightens out, there's still a very clear kind of bend in the line. And I want to draw it real quick here, something, and I don't know if there's a way. Okay, here's what I was looking for. Kind of see that almost little S bend. Oops, as a new radar scan comes in. So let's redraw that line. Excuse me. There's a very clear bend here. So that is the tornado risk. And if that line can straighten out, it will be more of a straight line situation. But because that bend is still there, there's definitely an opportunity for tornadic activity. There is a new warning that came out as well. It's a severe thunderstorm warning. I do want to touch on this because it does include a tornado possible tag. That is for Mason, Peoria, and Tazewell County. I think that's just sort of under the broader severe thunderstorm warning, which does extend from maybe just north of Route 24 south to Mason City. So that does include Pekin. That includes obviously Manitou, Mason City, areas that we've talked about. And within that, again, a tornado possible tag, primarily south of Peoria, primarily Pekin and south. And that, let me grab a query on this warning here. So this warning is, again, Mason, Tazewell County till 12:30. So that's another 15 minutes or so. The other warning, let me query that one, closer to Peoria County. That one's also 12:30. So that is, it's just one line of storms. The tornado warning is with a bend or a kink in the line in the central part of that, again, near Manitou. That's heading kind of east towards central Tazewell County. Again, as it looks now, Morton, East Peoria, and especially north toward Washington, I think look like you're going to miss the potential rotation out of this. I wouldn't rule out still some strong gusts, maybe in East Peoria or Morton, maybe with the northern extent of the line. But if this continues to actually go east and not track any farther north, Peoria, Washington, maybe Eureka, even areas along Route 24, should see this pass to the south. Again, I don't want to promise you that it 100% will, but if the radar trends continue to push it east, I don't see this impacting the Route 24 corridor. One last check here, or at least another check. Actually, I lied. Before I do that, a report from Mason County EMA here, emergency managers. They're saying there's some trees and traffic lights down in Havana, with some power lines down on 136 east of Havana that's blocking the roadway. So that report came in just a few minutes ago. So some wind damage reported with the line. Again, we were looking at the strong winds initially with that severe thunderstorm warning when it was issued. The tornado warning obviously taking a bit of a precedence, but still some strong winds from about Pekin to Mason City. And of course, again, this opportunity for the tornado situation in area of rotation, which still continues. Again, there's still a bit of a kink in the line, still some strong winds. No confirmation yet from any spotters in the area, which might be a good thing. Again, it still could be radar indicated. The issue, though, we have, again, it's after midnight. It's 12:17 in the morning, and obviously it's dark. The only chance that you can really get to see to illuminate the storms is the lightning, and you can only kind of get an instantaneous glance at that. You might be able to see maybe a wall cloud. If you get a really good glimpse, you could see a tornado, but you're going to kind of have to have this, in these conditions, it's going to have to be kind of a perfect view. We'll take a real quick look at the debris detector here, and there's not showing up anything there, so really no surprises, but just want to take a peek. What we look for in that image would be blue, and we didn't see any, so that was kind of a quick glance, but just wanted to take a look at that. All right, so our rotation is now near Green Valley. So strong winds at a minimum. Definitely an opportunity. The possible tornado is near Green Valley that would cross over Route 29. You see the bright greens there, kind of the bend in the gray area and some of those reds. Still rotation. Again, Route 9 is where you're looking at. And the Weather Service here, they're continuing the warning. This is for Mason, Tazewell County. I think they maybe just cut off part of the backside of the warning. This is primarily in Tazewell County now. So Manitou is clear from the tornado threat. Forest City is clear. Excuse me. South Pekin and Green Valley, particularly closer to Green Valley, is the area that we're watching now. And that looks like it could still be close to Delvin. Delvin's kind of right on the southern border of the warning polygon. So it's basically loosely Route 122. So if you're long and north of Route 122, I would head to your safe place. If you're near and east of Route 29 in the polygon as well, from South Pekin up to Tremont, I would be heading to your safe place, because even in addition to a tornado risk, there is a chance for the strong winds, again, 60 miles an hour, as well as some large hail up to the size of at least a quarter, if not even a $half, or a little bit larger than that. The rotation, again, is still close to Route 130 or Route 29. A couple more roads. Toboggan Avenue is kind of our west to east road there. I see Tower Line Road, and we're still west of Springfield Road. So we're not quite to Springfield, but definitely some strong winds. I see Woodrow Road. I see North Church Street. I see Main Street as you approach Green Valley. You're probably at a minimum looking at some very gusty winds. The rotation center is maybe just off to the northeast of Green Valley, but I think Green Valley needs another 5, maybe 10 minutes before we can give it all clear for that. All right, let's back things out. There's a new severe thunderstorm warning, and this is a pretty expansive one here. I think the Weather Service kind of just looking at this line as a whole. It's speeding up a bit and just kind of giving a big warning here. So it does include Bloomington normal. So this includes, let's see. So a couple of new updates just came in here, so it's lost my spot. But it includes Logan, Mason, McLean, parts of Peoria, Tazewell, and Woodford County. So it's a small sliver of Peoria County. But most of Tazewell County, I believe Mason was included. So this is kind of eastern Mason County, northern Logan, north of Lincoln, northwestern DeWitt, and then Bloomington normal up to Hudson and the areas west. So this broad warning is a severe thunderstorm warning, and tornado possible. Tag with this, obviously, with the tornado warning. I do want to look at the speed here, actually, so let me get rid of this. We can get rid of that. I didn't check the speed before I did the query, but I'm going to guess it's probably pushing 50 or maybe 60, just given just how large they drew that warning. Yeah, they're calling for moving east at 60. So the broad severe thunderstorm warning, that lasts till 1 o'clock in the morning. And now we can draw we have to zoom out, but we can draw our query here. Because again, this is it's going to go quite a bit here in the next about 45 minutes to an hour. So there's our squall line. and our times in town. So 12:22 is the current time. They gave the warning 40 minutes. This is about 60. In Groveland, about now, again, you're right on the northern edge of that storm, but Groveland seeing impacts very soon, if not already. Mackinac within about the next 5 to 10 minutes. Atlanta, that would be in northeastern Logan County at around 12:39. Danvers around the same time, and then we'll be approaching Bloomington Normal closer to the top of the hour. So that might be about 12:45 to pushing 1 o'clock. Hudson, Leroy in those time frames as well, and then we'll see how well this holds together. But Leroy, Aerosmith, Gibson City is going to be a little bit after 1 o'clock. And then maybe pushing out of the area closer to Interstate 57. So one benefit is that if this is a fast mover, it should clear the area decently soon. But here is, again, let's check back in on the Warren storm here. Again, there could be an embedded tornado within this area, somewhere between, say, Green Valley and Tremont. Maybe Dillon would be included in that as well. Hopedale is going to be on the southeastern edge of any possible tornado risk. But I think Green Valley to Dillon to Tremont is probably the area of higher concern. Still the bright green showing up there near Green Valley. There's a bit of a kink in the line. Again, it's not maybe as defined as earlier, but there's still a little squiggly kind of between the reds and greens. So you see how there's that little kink, the little squiggle. That is where the rotation would be. Again, if there is that possible tornado, it's going to be somewhere kind of in that squiggle. North of Delavan, north of Route 122. Again, pushing east of Green Valley. Latest scan just came in, and we see the brighter greens showing up. Definitely some very strong winds, too. We'll look at a different picture here, and this is the base velocity compared to what we call the storm relative velocity. And you're seeing some of these winds pushing 60-plus miles an hour. So, again, you're looking at definitely strong winds there near Green Valley. That will be heading toward 155. But the primary risk there in that area is a chance for a kind of a tornado. Again, nothing yet confirmed. Again, some of that could just be, again, timing. Again, 12:24 at night. It's tough to see outside the lightning strikes, but some of it could just be it just has not touched down yet. But we do want to at least act as if it is an active tornado, again, on the ground. That's the case we want to do for any tornado warning that we're ever in, not just tonight, but forever and always, because sometimes it could touch down briefly, it could lift back up, and we saw that earlier. There were some unconfirmed reports of tornado touchdowns in, I believe, Stark and Marshall County. To my knowledge, we had one local tornado that was north of Pontiac. I did see some official or unofficial touchdowns as well, maybe in parts of Livingston County. But it could be a situation where, again, it drops and it lifts back up. I'm starting to hear some pretty good thunderclaps again. We're in East Peoria. We're right on the northern edge. I believe the station right outside the polygon. But hearing some pretty loud claps of thunder here. And I would imagine that we're seeing the same in areas in the warning as well. So if you're waking up and you're tuning on or turning into our live stream, and we would definitely appreciate you watching us here as we advertised earlier today, we're going to be doing this as long as we have to here. It's currently coming up on 12:30. Bound, I know it's going to be coming in sometime, give or take, around 2 o'clock. And hopefully this severe weather threat's going to be over by then. But again, we will we'll either tag team this or kind of do a handoff when he gets in, and we'll just kind of see where we're at. But the one warning, the broad severe thunderstorm warning, goes until 1 o'clock. I'd be hopeful that once that clears the area, that would be it in terms of severe weather. But again, of course, we'll just kind of keep an eye on that and see how things develop in time. Let's take one more peek at I would like to hope that this line is not as kind of bendy or wavy. Again, there still could be right around Dillon. If there's a tornado, if there's rotation, that's where it is, heading maybe toward Tremont and Mackinac, crossing over 155. But at a minimum, some strong winds are expected there, north of Delavan, east of Green Valley. So Green Valley, I think you're okay. You're in the clear. Delavan, I wouldn't give it all clear just yet. I'd want to wait another maybe 10 or 15 minutes or so just to be on the safe side. Again, Dillon and areas east, the storm has, at least the rotation, possible rotation part of the storm, is either there or it's not there yet. So you're definitely not in the clear. The polygon does extend to Hopedale and Tremont, does not include Mackinac or Minear. If it gets extended, I don't know if the Weather Service will extend this. I think the warning goes till 12, might be 12:45. Tornado warning till 12:45. So they have another about 15 minutes to decide what they want to do with this. If there's still that little bend in the line, I would not be surprised if they do extend it farther. But at a minimum, you do have a strong wind threat developing there in parts of Tazewell County, as well as maybe a hail risk, which I don't really see too strong of a hail core. There is a bit of a purple coloring here. We'll zoom back in here. Clicked off of the radar. There is a little bit of the purple shading kind of between Dillon and Tremont. That might be the area favored for some large hail, but not quite to the extent that we're seeing when this tornado warning was actually first issued. We did have some, I haven't seen reports of hail, but at least estimated by radar, some pretty good hail coming down, maybe upward of $half size. We're really seeing this picking up here in East Peoria. I don't think we've held. I do want to step outside. I'm just going to open the door real quick outside just to see what we're looking at. I thought I might have heard a couple hailstones on the ceiling, but I think it was mostly rain. So you're going to get some noise here real quick as I open the door. Some very strong winds for sure. I don't see any hail, but the rain is definitely blowing around in our parking lot outside. So definitely strong winds. East Peoria, I believe, is kind of right on the fringe of the polygon. Kind of depends upon where you are. Looks like East Peoria is out of the polygon, but definitely strong winds. Again, it may not be severe. Severe wind by definition is 58 miles an hour. But you can definitely come in here coming down. Again, Peoria, this is actually mainly south of you. It's Creve Coeur to East Peoria to Morton, and then areas south. Washington, you might just be clipped by the northern part of this. Not too concerned just yet about Washington. Again, you might get just some gusty winds and some heavy rain, maybe some loud thunder too, but the worst of this is staying south of you. And then, of course, again, we have the tornado situation, or possible tornado situation that we've been watching. Let's take a look again at the velocity images here, and we do see still the bright greens, the bright reds, maybe near Hopedale, and that would be crossing over 155. So if there's a tornado, that's where it would be. The Weather Service, they have a couple, I'll make sure I missed any updates here. They have a couple of cancellations of warnings, a couple of continuations of warnings. Looks like nothing new in the tornado warning. Let's put our shear tracker on again and see what we got there. So I maybe a couple areas there of rotation, as we talked about, maybe near and just west of 155 on the low end of the scale on the shear detector, but still possible. And I've mentioned this earlier in the evening that sometimes on that shear detector, I've seen situations where the couplet doesn't look too impressive and the shear detector is not impressive, but that's the time that a tornado comes out of a warning, and where it might be stronger at other times, but that's not what. So the weather is going to do what the weather is going to do, which is another reason why we treat tornado warnings as always potentially being on the ground, just because again we don't know when a tornado might touch down. Again, we look at the radar, we can look at the rotations, look at trends, but ultimately it's going to do what it's going to do. So still in that polygon, again, Hopedale up to Tremont, Dillon still included. The latest scan came in, it looks like Dillon is still right on the back end. So if you're in Dillon, let's give it 5 minutes. Maybe let one more scan come in, let that continue to push east of you, and then we'll give you an all clear. Pekin, I think you're an all clear. Groveland, looks like this is going to stay south of you, but you might be getting some heavy rain and gusty winds. But in terms of a tornado risk, it still is right along the 155 corridor right now. Mackinac and Minear, not a bad idea to head to your safe spot if you're not there already, just because the storm is just west of you. And if there is a new warning that comes out, it likely would include you, and it would be kind of right on your doorstep. So again, we'll wait and see. Let's hope that the warning doesn't get extended. If it does, again, it's likely to include Mackinac and Minear. So those areas, even as we're starting to see kind of the leading edge of the strong winds approaching you, it's just not a bad idea to head to your safe place again, just to be on the safe side. Always better safe than sorry, especially in situations like this where you can't see the storm coming. And again, just because it's nighttime, you're not going to be able to see it. So always better to be prepared and be on the safe side just in case. Let's see what else we got here going on with this cell. We'll take a look back at the velocities. And that to me doesn't look as worrisome. That looks to me like more of a straight line situation. So hopefully maybe some of this rotation is weakening and we're looking at just more maybe a straight line wind situation developing, which is kind of what we've been looking at for the most part with that broader severe thunderstorm warning as a whole. Again, we're just looking at maybe some strong winds here. So we'll recap this line from north to south. Again, the warning is just south of Morton. Morton might just be getting some heavy rain and strong winds. Again, I took a peek out the door here in East Peoria, and I can't tell how fast the wind was blowing, but definitely was gusting pretty good. Washington is north of the worst activity, but there could be some gusty winds and some heavy rainfall, especially southern part of the city. But Morton, again, technically on the fringes of the warning. Same with Groveland. Heavy rain is possible, strong winds, maybe 40 to 50 miles an hour. Wouldn't rule it out. The tornado threat is likely to pass off to your south. Then we head south to Tremont. Excuse me. We're going to travel down 155. Tremont and then areas east toward Mackinac, toward Hopedale, toward Minear. The storm is actually kind of exiting out of the warning polygon. So we'll see if that gets extended or not. But the tornado risk could be kind of, again, flirting with right on the edge of that polygon. And if it is still, again, I didn't really see as much on the velocity image. And there we go. They canceled the warning there 10 minutes early. So they're seeing what I'm seeing, which was more of a straight line wind situation developing. And you can kind of see, we'll draw it out for you again, kind of the grays between the red and the green. It is pretty much a straight line now. So the rotation threat looks to be over. That's welcome news. I still would not rule out another quick little spin up here developing within this line. If we can get the right conditions, then it could certainly happen. We went from kind of looking at the velocities of that warning earlier when it was back in Mason County and not being worried about it to maybe just 5-10 minutes later having a pretty robust velocity signature. So that is kind of where we're at with that. We'll check the warning real quick, and then we'll hop off air but continue on streaming. I just want to give it folks watching on TV, maybe you're in Bloomington or maybe you're in Danvers, Hudson, Hayworth, wherever you are, just give you kind of a quick look at what we're looking at here while we're still on air, and then we'll go a little more continuous with this off air on our online streaming platforms. So the broad warning, which the storm itself is about from Morton to Hartsburg. The strongest of this is in northern Mason and eastern parts of Tazewell County, generally southeast of Morton, toward Mackinac, toward Minear, toward Armington, and then back toward Hartsburg. The leading edge is starting to move into Tazewell County. And again, it's moving pretty fast. This is a highway speed storm here, about 60 miles an hour. So this polygon here, again, I didn't get it to 60, got it to 56, so it's close enough. But 12:35 is our current time. Danvers is 12:39. McLean will be about 12:42. Bloomington normal as early as about 12:45, 12:50. Hayworth 12:53. Leroy a little bit after the top of the hour. Same with Lexington at 1:05. Bellflower about 1:19. And then we're looking areas east. Gibson City, Fisher, that's outside of the area. That'll be closer to 1:30. So we have another, give or take, about an hour, assuming the storm keeps at its current trajectory and current speed, that we could be seeing some additional severe weather. This is south of Route 24, and this is in Tazewell and McLean counties in particular that we'll be seeing the higher threat. So again, with that in mind, we will, Bill, is that you back there now? Okay, so we will, we'll stop our on-air coverage. We'll take you back to regularly scheduled programming. But if you want to hop over to our 25 News streaming service or our live stream on our app or our Facebook page, we'll just continue just coverage on those platforms. So again, appreciate everybody watching, but for this point, we're going to end our TV coverage and continue online.